listen carefully and figure out how to decide what his policies are going to be and what they are.
Let me tell you who I associate with. On economic policy, I associate with Warren Buffett and former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker. If I'm interested in figuring out my foreign policy, I associate myself with my running mate Joe Biden or with Dick Lugar, the Republican ranking member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, or General Jim Jones, the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. Those are the people, Democrats and Republicans, who have shaped my ideas and who will be surrounding me in the White House.
America, this program is under a great amount of pressure to not bring you this news. I would ask that you listen carefully. We're going to do exactly what Obama himself has told us to do. We have to find out about his advisors. Who is shaping his opinion? Who is surrounding him? We know it's not based in eugenics, but what is it? You see, your voice isn't going to be represented in the war room in a crisis situation. And right now, that's all anybody is talking about in his advisory ring or here on this floor in the studio. We're only talking about if there's a crisis, what will they do? Whose voice will the president hear? Well, there's Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel. He is a health advisor. He said this in January of this year, quote, "When implemented, the Complete Lives system produces a priority curve on which individuals aged between roughly 15 and 40 years get the most chance, whereas the youngest and oldest people get chances that are attenuated." The science czar, John Holdren, says, quote, "The fetus, given the opportunity to develop properly before birth and given the essential early socializing experiences and sufficient nourishing food during the crucial early years after birth, will ultimately develop into a human being." He also, this czar, wrote about putting sterilants in drinking water for population control. One of the leaders in this type of thought is a friend of the regulatory czar, Cass Sunstein. Cass Sunstein, the regulatory czar, is the guy who will take that big bill and make the regulations to point us in the right direction. One of his good friends is prominent Princeton professor Peter Singer. In July 2009, this last July, in the New York Times, Peter Singer wrote, "Why we must ration health care." He wants to do it now. In that, he talked about the number of lives we could save. Saving the life of one teenager is equivalent to saving the lives of how many 85-year-olds? His answer is 14. You also have Rahm Emanuel's brother Ezekiel saying this in November 1996. Conversely, services provided to individuals who are irreversibly prevented from being or becoming participating citizens are not basic and should not be guaranteed. That leads me to Sarah Palin's statement this week on Facebook. She said this: "Who will suffer the most when they ration care? The sick, the elderly, the disabled, of course. The America I know does not love one in which my parents or my baby with Down syndrome will have to stand in front of Obama's death panel. So bureaucrats can decide based on subjective judgment of their level of productivity in society whether they are worthy of health care. Such a system is downright evil." Is it truly crazy to have these conversations? This is the stuff that they're now saying out loud. What are they saying to the president behind closed doors when we aren't there to watch it? I guess we won't know because we'll all be too focused on that emergency that would start the rationing. And the czars don't have to answer to anyone. Before I introduce you to my panel, I want to show you one more thing. This is a poster from Germany. See if this rings a bell to anyone or looks familiar, just in a different kind of media. This is something that translates here at the bottom to the complainer. Can you zoom in on this one? Here's the complainer. These are 4 men. Notice how ugly they are. How some of them look rich or fat or whatever. Maybe Jewish, maybe this one. I don't know. They're all the complainers. They're all standing around in a circle, and they're all standing around in a circle talking about how horrible things are and how we shouldn't do this. The parade back here are the supporters. This is a poster of what you see every day now in the news media, making the complainers, the Tea Party goers, look somehow rotten.